I also want to backtrack to your sort of overdosing on the feel good pills, right?
Wow. Yeah.
and that also kind of feeds into a family member that
Yes.
died by suicide.
Yes.
You know, it's a very sensitive
Yes,
topic.
yes,
and I
absolutely.
know, you know, family sometimes we
Yes.
don't really want our people to be known
Yes.
in those terms because
Yes.
of the secrecy around it. And I respect that completely. But I just want to know how, you know, suicide ideation and your sister's passing kind of affected you. I mean, you had some thoughts or some attempts here and there.
Absolutely.
And you know, what was that experience like?
Okay, so in essence, what I've learned from her passing is solely to try to be more present in the moment. And I also do believe that I've learned to try your best. Okay, I do understand that, yes, we should have boundaries, but to avail yourself to the people that are around you. Okay, I know that we're not superheroes, we cannot be everywhere.
Sure.
But I'm talking specifically about your friend group, your close friend group, your parents, your circle. Check up on people. We're living in a society that's all driven to self now. And I understand it. I do. You've got to have your boundaries about what calls you can take, when and how. But don't be too self-centered. We are living in a self-centered driven, self-care, self-help, self. Where's the service? We are not born for self. We are born to be of service. And extending yourself to others. And it really does, you know, I know this is not a faith. I don't know if, you know, I sometimes try not to talk too much about faith. Just because, even though I know it's okay, but just because there's people from a wider spectrum, and I would love everybody to reel in.
Yes, okay, I get that.
But ultimately, if you are a spiritual person, you cannot live a self-centered life. And when I say self-centered, it's like sometimes you don't feel like taking people's calls, genuinely. And it happens all the time. Like, I don't want to have to deal with this person right now because of my mental health. Okay, okay, your mental health. But can you just take the call for 2 minutes and handle it? Like, you rather tell the person. And that's what I've learned to do now. I take the call and I say, listen, this is what I listen to see if the person that needs my time and attention at this moment, if what they need right now is something that I can deal with, then I try to, see if I can help. But if I can't and I don't have the capacity, I let it be known that, listen, I cannot deal with this right now. Maybe, I'm just not, because of the self-driven world we're living in now. Everything is like, I don't answer calls from this time to that time. No, babes. If my discernment is off and something tells me to answer that call, I'm going to answer the call. And like I say, maybe it's just my experience. Maybe it's just my experience that makes me think like that. But why do you need to have an experience to allow you to think like that? Sometimes answering the call may save a person's life. And that's just one of the things that I've learned. But overall, how I've had to deal with her passing. It's a very sad thing, because even though she's passed, I still feel like she's here. So I feel like I don't deal with it. I feel like we just get by every day and hope that she's okay. And I feel like it was never something that I ever imagined speaking about on a public platform in my life, just because it's so fragile. But then again, back to faith. When God tells you or He puts something on your heart, I believe in things happening in vain. And if you don't learn from something, it's happening in vain. If you have a traumatic experience, if, for example, let's make it an everyday practical example. If you do not study for a test and you fail that test, now you're dealing with the consequences of failing and having to rewrite the test, right? Sorry, I'm a teacher. This is how I do things. But ultimately, if you look at your consequence and say, okay, so what could I have done better?
Sure.
How can I now change my outcome?
Sure.
What are you going to do? Organize your life, set a schedule, study. Then we pass. So I believe that life is like that. And we endured or are enduring having this experience. So for us, it's like, okay, so what have we learned through this? And for me, it's taking care of my mental health, speaking when I need to speak. I will call my best friend if I need to. I will go on my knees and pray when I need to. I will be self-aware and know that I have a problem, that I'm being toxic right now. And I'm not always pointing a finger at everyone that's toxic around me, because we're living in a culture where I'm just letting go of toxic people. No. I'm toxic. Can I say I'm toxic? Can I have self-awareness and take accountability?
And give some people grace, man.
Give people, I love that word. Grace. Give people more grace. Give yourself grace.
Exactly.
And so just in finishing, I'd just like to say that, and that is why I am growing to learn that, okay, this is what's happened. These are the consequences. We're dealing. Okay. We're overcoming. This is overcoming because we're able to talk about it now. This must mean healing.
Exactly.
Okay. The phrase that is so highlighted in my mind, I've never felt like I was aligned with the phrase before, but now it feels like every day I wake up, turning pain to purpose. How can I use my story? How can I use this thing that hurt me, that crushed me, that I didn't understand? How can I use it to sort of help someone else that possibly is dealing with the same thing? And I feel like if I don't do that, then that experience, that healing, that pain, is in vain. Wasted in vain. How can I help? Let's talk about it. It's not easy. My knees are shaking. I have a lump in my throat, but we have to do it.
Man.
So that's the road. That is the process. I'm in the process. And that is where I'm heading, is having more conversations, being vulnerable, and finding strength in that. Hoping to touch somebody or to help someone.
Man. I'm sure someone who's gonna hear this or who's listening to this will agree, that, you might not know it in the moment. We spoke about this, that a lot of stuff lands on us much later, when it's like that, when a student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Or when you ask the right questions, then eventually the answers will come to you. They don't come in that moment.